Hi, my name is Julia, and I'm an art director, and I'm super excited to share with y'all what I've been working on this semester. So I'm going to start off with Wattpad. Um, I worked on this with Helen, and Wattpad is a online platform where basically anyone, amateur writers, can put their stories up on the internet, and anyone around the world can come and read them. So a lot of it is, teen fiction, fan fiction, romance, sci-fi, fantasy, things like that. And it's dominated mostly by Gen Z, both readers and writers. So what's interesting about this is that Gen Z's identities and interests are straying further and further away from traditional narratives, and they're really challenging the status quo with what they're reading and writing. We even found, the amount of minutes that they spend on looking up and reading about these really unique genres that Wattpad offers. So with this campaign, we want to normalize unconventional stories like these by giving them the spotlight that they deserve. So in the first part of this campaign, Wattpad basically is challenging young writers to rewrite classic stories with a contemporary twist using the hashtag change the narrative. So on Instagram and using these little libraries placed around the country, they'll provide their writers with a prompt. Things like, what if Joe March from Little Women ran for president? What if Romeo and Juliet were from different planets? To encourage them to rethink and rewrite these classic stories in their own way and then submit them to Wattpad as a part of this global challenge. And then they'll also encourage their really popular Wattpad authors to put their own twist on and edit these classic literary quotes. And then the submissions from this email blast and the first part of the challenge will be used in the second part of the campaign, where they share their best submissions with the world. And then we also thought about redesigning the symbols that represent the genres that are popular on Wattpad, because they're really important in representing what these people are relating to and finding interesting. So Wattpad would use these symbols throughout the campaign and on their website when kids are looking up what they want to read about. So phase 2 about the campaign is about bringing the new narratives and rewritten stories to life. So it will actually choose the best submissions from the challenge and produce a short film from the best submissions. So I won't go through all these right now, but these will obviously be user-generated content in the real world, but we wanted to sort of imagine what we envision these spots to look like if Wattpad users did rewrite classic stories. So, whether it be Rapunzel rescuing herself, Romeo and Juliet being from different planets, or The Great Gatsby, Gatsby finding or falling in love with someone else instead of Daisy. These are all what we could envision as examples of what these submissions might be like and short films might end up portraying. So in order to also bring this challenge to life, those rewritten quote or edited quotes by those Wattpad authors will be made into billboards put around cities where these quotes are written in this like traditional font, and then the edited parts will be sort of handwritten onto the billboard based off of what those authors submitted. And then the last part of this campaign is kind of about spreading these stories and this idea of changing the narrative far and wide. So this unconventional traveling library will roam from city to city, sharing these new rewritten stories with the world or with the country. And then those redesigned genre symbols will be made into merch, like laptop stickers and pop sockets that Wattpadders can proudly display on their devices. So that is Wattpad. So the second campaign I worked on with my partner Ryan was for Rotten Tomatoes. So basically what we found is that Rotten Tomatoes has trouble making everyone happy because simply not everyone agrees with the way that their infamous tomato meter rates movies. So we decided to, in an interesting approach, pit the brand against an enemy that is so ridiculous that people will be reminded of why they rely on the tomato meter and why it's so revolutionary and effective. So I really highly recommend watching this case study video. It explains the campaign in a really clear, concise way, and I think it conveys the humorous tone that we meant to portray. But for now, I will introduce the American Association of Tomato Growers. So this is the fake organization that we created to pit against Rotten Tomatoes. So they're a tomato farmer advocacy group that is super pissed off because because tomato sales are down. And in order to get rid of their surplus produce, they want to encourage people to criticize movies the old-fashioned way, which means buying a tomato from them and using it to throw it at the end of a bad movie. So this makes Rotten Tomatoes and their efficient, more modern approach to movie criticism their number one enemy if they really want to sell their produce. So the campaign starts off with a pretty aggressive TV spot from AATG explaining their fight against Rotten Tomatoes and why the public should use actual tomatoes when it comes to film criticism. So I won't read this whole thing, but they're saying enough is enough. It's time to take the tomato back to the theater. To see how you can do your part, please visit stoprottentomatoes.com. And so that's how it kicks off. And we actually created the stoprottentomatoes.com website. That is the ultimate go-to resource for AATG's cause and for all things tomato tossing. So that includes an incredibly detailed guide on tomato throwing written by my amazing partner, Ryan, that would be distributed in movie theaters as a sort of stunt around the country. And then we have some more stunts to bring the fake organization to life and make their fight super real. So these vandalized movie posters outside of movie theaters, gorilla stickers, dunking a Rotten Tomatoes employee in a tomato tank, and even vandalizing the Rotten Tomatoes headquarters. So the social posts will also be a part of the campaign where AATG basically is coming up with these really wacky and creative ways to get rid of their tomatoes in other ways. But they'll, of course, still be encouraging people to stop RottenTomatoes.com. So the turning point of the campaign happens when Rotten Tomatoes actually begins to respond to the attacks. So after ATG has been beefing with them on Twitter and all this other stuff, Rotten Tomatoes will actually respond on their Twitter and on their website, basically saying that they are aware of the situation and that what AATG is fighting for is just plain ridiculous. So it all ends with a TV spot from Rotten Tomatoes in which a representative is attacked during a press conference outside of the Rotten Tomatoes headquarters by an angry mob of tomato throwing AATG farmers. But, while he's addressing this issue, he's super calm, super cool, collected, and he is able to reassure the public that when it comes to rating movies and film criticism, the tomato meter is definitely the way to go, and that Rotten Tomatoes is not going anywhere anytime soon. And that concludes the Rotten Tomatoes versus AATG campaign. So my third campaign that I worked on was with Fatima. It is for GOAT. GOAT stands for Greatest of All Time, and it's basically a sneaker reselling platform that is really highly respected and used in the hypebeast and sneaker community. So the insight we found here is that authenticity is super important in the sneaker universe, especially because they're an item that's so heavily counterfeited around the world. And then our idea was we wanted to show how seriously GOAT takes this authentication process when it comes to reselling sneakers on their website. They believe that it's an art and a science with the goal of fighting against the counterfeit industry. So the first part of this campaign is about showing the public how incredibly meticulous and calculated these steps are that their team takes to verify every single seeker they come across. So these print ads will be translucent pages in magazines that actually are placed before or on top of actual sneaker brand ads, whether it be like Nike, Adidas, whatever brands. And these transparent goat ads will show the really specific equations, notes, and scientific calculations that they actually use to verify sneakers. And then these out of home executions do a similar thing where they kind of show the breakdown of this process. Same with this one right here, but we wanted to do it in a more artful way because it's a science and an art for goat, to sort of show this very detailed breaking down of every shoe that they do to analyze every part and make sure that it's real. And then we also found out that goat has specialists who know how to identify a real sneaker by just the way that it smells. So in each box, we thought it'd be cool to give each sneakerhead a vial of their new shoes distilled scent that serves as a sort of proof of their dedication, of goat's dedication to delivering 100% realness every time. Phase two is about educating the public about how they can also learn how to spot a fake and how to combat the counterfeit industry. So these social posts will be like mini masterclass videos by the GOAT experts showing tips on how to spot a fake. And then these product ads will show kind of what GOAT sees sneakers to be first as a sort of specimen to dissect and verify with these really specific equations that they use as the captions. But then when you swipe to the second image and the second caption, you see sort of what the consumer sees as the ready to sell, verified and real sneaker that's kind of ready to go and ready for you to buy. And then we want to get sneakerheads engaged as well. So we created this interactive game that challenges them to identify the flaws on a 3D rendered fake limited edition sneaker. And they get a chance to win the real thing if they succeed in identifying the flaws. So they'll be able to access this game using QR codes that will be placed on sidewalks where people typically line up for hours and hours and hours to get the latest sneaker outside of big stores. And then phase three is a counterfeit initiative that encourages sneakerheads to donate any fake sneakers that they come across. And then with those donations, GOAT will repurpose them and break them down into materials to be able to build up spaces in urban communities with those broken down materials. And then lastly, they will collaborate with industry artists and designers to reimagine fake versions of the sneakers that are, littered around the country as quality limited edition pairs. So, and then the proceeds from these limited edition releases will actually go toward helping provide shoes to the homeless and less fortunate. So yeah, that finishes up GOAT. All right, and last but not least, Megabus is a campaign that I worked on last year, and I just wanted to give it a makeover and kind of add some new things since then because I really like this campaign. So the insight here is about how getting to a destination normally requires a lot of planning and is rarely ever relaxing, but Megabus really strips down travel to be super simple and hassle-free, so that the getaway can start with the getting there. So we kind of just took Megabus's pretty terrible current branding and made it big, bold, and pretty while still keeping it minimal, which is, what the brand is all about: minimalistic, some simple, easy to understand and navigate. So that's what these print ads do and kind of emphasize how easy the experience is and how relaxing it is. And then these out of home ads would be placed in places like, busy roads, airports, and even the middle of nowhere, to kind of let people know why they should choose Megabus for their next travel plans, because clearly these people and these billboards are having a great time because they're going their way. um, and then Megabus will also combat distracted driving by showing people that if they ride with Megabus instead, they can actually stay connected and stay safe at the same time, because it's all about going your way. So, Instagram ads will encourage them to scroll and ride, don't scroll and drive. And Snapchat filters will thank them for when they get into a certain city, thank them for snapping and riding, not snapping and driving. And then we also wanted to put a twist on the classic sort of onboard brochure that you normally find in like airplanes. So these will be in the back of every Megabus chair on the bus. And so basically, it'll kind of emphasize that the only things you need to worry about on the trip are all about taking it easy. So, sort of humorous approach to the whole message. So, taking your eyes off the road, focusing on your phone, securing your devices, choosing wherever you want to sit, taking it easy, reclining your chair, things like that. And finally, this station mural would be placed in Megabus stations around the country, just to remind drivers why traveling with Megabus is the best way to go, because that way you leave the perils of the road to Megabus and all you have to do is sit back and relax. So that concludes Megabus and my campaigns for this semester. So thank you so, so much again for watching this entire thing. And I really look forward to hearing your feedback tomorrow. Thank you.